Hello, welcome back to Milkman Channel. There are going to be spoilers for Gears of War Judgment in this video. I wasn't even going to mention that due to the fact that it's like an 11-year-old game or something at this point. But then I remembered I haven't played it till I was 11 years old. So there might be some other people out there like me who haven't played it who are interested. So FYI, spoilers in this video. Xbox has been in rough shape for the past couple of years. Even Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, has said that they are in third place in the world of consoles, behind Sony's PlayStation and Nintendo's Switch. This is a far cry from their once high-regarded position in the gaming space. A lot of people will agree Microsoft Xbox peaked at the release of their second Xbox during the 7th generation of consoles, the Xbox 360. You see, in my mind, Xbox has three tentpole franchises that are the pride and joy of the platform. Those three franchises being Halo, Forza, and Gears of War. Forza is still going strong today as the premier racing sim with their Motorsport series, as well as a great open world and more arcade-like racing experience in their Horizon series. I'm going to be talking about Halo more in a future video, so let's talk about Gears of War. Whereas Halo and Forza made their debut on the original Xbox, Gears of War didn't make its first appearance till the Xbox 360 with the release of Gears of War in 2006. In the original game, you played as Marcus Phoenix, a human soldier defending the human-colonized planet of Sera from an underground race of creatures known as the Locust. The games are highlighted by the big, bulky meatiness of the characters, as well as the over-the-top blood and gore. The game series has followed the same storyline ever since I stopped playing the games after Gears 3. Since then, it seems the Gears of War games have fallen out of the spotlight thanks to Gears of War Judgment and 4 getting mixed reviews from players with a 5.8 and 7.1 respectively on Metacritic. But I do think it is worth mentioning that the critics enjoyed these games a lot more than the normal player base, with a score of 79 and 84 respectively. It seems Gears 5 is liked by everyone, with a critic score of 84 and a user score of 8.2. At one point, I was a huge fan of these games, particularly Gears 2 and 3. Before I had access to high-speed internet, Gears of War were godsends for me, as they were some of the few games that allowed you to have a decent multiplayer experience while being offline using AI bots for teammates and enemies. Not to mention that I think the Horde mode in those games is still some of the best Horde modes I've ever played. I can't tell you how many hours I spent playing Gears 2 and 3, multiplayer and Horde, while listening to a CD I burned and then imported into my Xbox 360. Side note, bring back being able to listen to music easily while gaming. Spotify on PS5 is very clunky and inconvenient. Having so many fond memories of the series, I decided to play catch up and play the Gears of War games I missed out on, with those being Gears of War Judgment, 4, and 5. 4 and 5 will come later in future videos, as I started with Gears Judgment. Not a mainline entry, but a prequel, since it was the next one to release after Gears of War 3. I believe this game is made for a specific set of people, and that's not a bad thing. So let's get the gears turning and discuss Gears of War Judgment. Gears of War Judgment was developed by People Can Fly and Epic Games. It was published by Microsoft Studios, and it was released on March 19th, 2013 in North America and Australia, then a few days later on March 22nd for my Europeans out there. It was released exclusively for the Xbox 360, so long story short, it is not on PC Game Pass as I came to find out. It is, however, on Xbox Game Pass. So I pulled my old Xbox out of retirement to play this game on. Felt kind of good to pull the old girl out of retirement, and I haven't used the Xbox in about 4.5 years. She was a little sketchy though, a little sketchy. I had to immediately restart it every time I turned it on to get it to connect to the internet, and I had to use kind of a sketchy, mushy button controller, but nonetheless, she got the job done. So all footage you are seeing was from my Xbox One, and captured it using an Elgato HD60S Plus capture card and recorded through OBS. There are Gears of War comics as well, but as far as video games are concerned, Judgment is actually the first in the timeline. And in it, you do not play as Marcus Phoenix. Instead, you play as a cast of characters. These characters include newcomers Sophia Hendrick and Garen Paddock, as well as longtime characters Augustus Colt and Damon Baird, with Baird being the focus and most played character, as he's the leader of Kilo Squad, aka the 4 characters you play as. They're known as Kilo Squad. The game is split into 2 campaigns, quote unquote, Judgment and Aftermath, with Judgment being like, 95% of the game. Judgment takes place mostly through flashbacks, as the game opens with Kilo Squad on trial for disobeying orders. However, Colonel Loomis, beyond pissed with Kilo Squad, insists on having this trial immediately, despite being in the middle of a war zone. The flashbacks are Kilo Squad telling their story of how they tried to defeat Karn, an evil Locust general. Aftermath takes place 17 years after the events of Judgment and is in some bonus content to pair with Gears of War 3 kinda. At one point in Gears of War 3, Marcus sends Baird and Cole to get reinforcements for an upcoming assault, and Aftermath is their experience getting said reinforcements. But to call Aftermath a campaign is quite generous, as it took me less than an hour and a half to complete. It's a one-sitting thing, pretty much. Before I really dig into it, I just want to point out that the AI in this game, and let's mainly talk about my teammates. In fact, calling them artificial intelligence is a bit strong, because I would not use the word intelligent to describe them. They would definitely get in my way, and frequently getting in my way, and aren't killing enemies that are basically face-to-face with them. But by far and away, the most annoying trait of these AIs is their lack of awareness to revive me. I got knocked a lot playing this game. I was kind of going in guns blazing, gung-ho style, and my teammates most definitely got me up a lot, but there were also more than a few times they didn't, and it was how they didn't wouldn't get me up that was annoying. Sometimes I would get knocked, and then someone would run over to revive me, but then they just wouldn't revive me. They would just stand over me for like 10 seconds before I inevitably got blown up or shot by the enemy. And that just grinded my gears, no pun intended. Like I said, this game is 11 years old, and I feel like I can't be too hard on it with given the huge advancements in AI and this type of thing. But it does mean it wasn't frustrating. The enemy AI isn't that smart either, but teammates were extra noticeable given how at times I had to count on them to keep me alive, and they would let me down a lot of the time. But now for the meat and potatoes of the game. Gears of War Judgment plays quite differently from other Gears games. The core gameplay is the same: cover system, active reloads, trademark incredibly violent, bloody, and gory action. However, what is different is this video game got gamified. Allow me to explain. In previous games, they have a traditional story-based structure. You watch a cutscene, you play through a whole mission, maybe a scripted event or two in there, then you finish the mission. In Gears of War Judgment, you follow a very similar structure, except every mission is split into like 5-minute segments that you get scored on using a star system, with the ability to earn 1, 2, or 3 stars. This system makes me feel very conflicted. There's a positive to it, which I will get to later. However, this definitely has a big negative in that it kills the pacing of the game. One of the things I remember best from playing Gears of War was the fast-paced, action-packed shootouts. You move from cover to cover, blasting away, turning enemies into many pieces, whether that be with a shotgun, sniper, or the chainsaw attached to your Lancer. This is the type of game Gears of War is to me. And then it is made even better by a pretty decent story to go along with it. Getting interrupted every few minutes to see my grade for the section did not do anything for the pacing. It really broke up the flow of the game. It made it hard to truly settle into it. Make no mistake, you do get used to it, and once you know it is coming, it does make the wait easier to bear. But do I think the game would have flowed better and been easier to settle in the story without it? Yes I do. Speaking of the story, I want to highlight a major flaw I identified. The main reason Kilo Squad is on trial is because they went against the orders and used a light mass missile, like just basically a nuke in this world, to try and kill Karn, the previously mentioned Locust general. Karn has decimated several human civilizations and killed countless people, so you would think this is a reasonable excuse to use a light mass missile to kill a major part of the Locust army. Colonel Loomis disagrees, hence why he was putting them on trial, and that's fine. You aren't meant to like Loomis. He is a very dislikable character. However, this is where things get kind of dumb. Like I mentioned before, this trial is taking place in the middle of a war zone as other soldiers defend the building. But then things get too much to bear and the Locusts break in, interrupting the trial. And at this point, you take control of Baird once more, and Loomis has disappeared. As you play through the level, you find out that Karn isn't dead. He and the big old monster he rides on survived the light mass missile blast, and serves as the final boss of the game, where you, playing as Baird, and the rest of Kilo Squad, as well as a re-emerged Colonel Loomis, fight to take him down. Once the battle is done though, Loomis tells Kilo Squad that he is dropping the charges against them. Sorry, what? If I am Colonel Loomis and I give a squad orders, then they blatantly disobey them to try to achieve a goal, and they don't even achieve that goal, there'd be hell to pay. During the trial, it seemed Loomis was ready to gun down Kilo Squad and just pop them right then and there and kill them. But then once he finds out their plan didn't work, he drops the charges. Sure, Garen Paddock, that guy I mentioned earlier, who's a member of Kilo Squad, saved Loomis's life when the Locust broke into the building. But given what we know about Loomis at this point, that doesn't seem like that would be enough for the charges to be dropped against all of them. Maybe just Paddock, maybe. But all of Kilo Squad? The only punishment that happened was Baird getting demoted from lieutenant to private. At least I think it's private. I don't know how he's called private in the main games, and I don't know how military ranking works. Cole, Sophia, and Paddock seem to get off scot-free. It just seems like Loomis had an awfully quick change of heart for seemingly no reason in my mind. And that just screams lazy writing, which lines up because the overall story of this game is mediocre at best. However, as I've said before in many gaming videos, many sins can be forgiven if the video game is fun, and Gears of War Judgment has fun in spades. What it lacks in usual story depth, it makes up for in pure, raw, unadulterated fun. Sure, the aforementioned ranking and grading system every 5 minutes does break up the pacing a bit, but also gives an ever-present goal to achieve as they display what your stars are in the top left corner. I didn't put too much effort into getting the stars and getting 3 every time, but due to how I played this game, I got 3 stars more often than not, which made when I didn't get 3 stars a little disappointing, and I wanted to go back and replay a section to get all 3. I didn't replay a single one, but it upset me a little bit when I didn't get 3, I'm not gonna lie. I got 3 stars most of the time, not only because I played on hardcore difficulty, the hardest difficulty I had available, might I add, but also because I made it a little harder on myself by accepting declassified restrictions. These are restrictions that you can apply at the beginning of most levels to make things a little harder. Accepting these gives you a boost to earning stars for that section. These restrictions include using only certain weapons, giving you a time limit, reduced visibility, so on and so forth. There's a lot more than just those types of 3. And me being me, I accepted every one of these, not because I was star chasing, but because they kept the game fresh and new, making use of new weapons I normally wouldn't use, making me rush through a level instead of taking my time a little more. These restrictions were always forcing me to constantly change how I play, and that is always something I enjoy in video games. Just ask people I play COD, Apex, or other games with. I am always switching up my guns, characters where applicable, and just things like that to keep things fun and fresh. I'm not someone to go with the meta or whatever. I'm constantly switching things up because I love just playing a variety of play styles. And these restrictions forced me to do that in a single-player game, something that, in my experience, isn't all that super common. Typically, single-player games let you play however you want, yada yada. And here, with the restrictions, I couldn't do that. Well, I could have just not taken them, but I did, and that's the point. Time truly flew by playing this game because of how much fun I was having. I almost stopped caring about the story because it was so lackluster, and then combine that with me just wanting to get into the next firefight and keep having more fun. So what do I think of Gears of War Judgment, and do I recommend you play it? Well, that depends. The Gears of War story is a good one. I'm not saying it's great. I'd say better than average, though. Filled with many iconic moments in gaming history. So it hurt to see the story of this one be one of the weakest points. But as I stated before, this game is buckets of fun. The combination of these two make it a tricky thing to form an opinion on, so I will end it like this. Gears of War Judgment does very little to add on to the overall story in my mind. All it really did was give me a little more backstory on Baird and Cole, and even that is just kind of barely present. But if you go in wanting nothing more than a good old bloody mess of fun and a good time, Gears of War Judgment will definitely scratch that itch.
Bring it on! They're on! Oh, great! That's great!
Playing Gears Judgment was not really what I expected, but in a good way of sorts. But anyway, thank you for watching this video. Appreciate it. Appreciate your time and attention. Don't forget to hit that like button if you like this video, as it's huge help for all of us here at Milkman Channel. We're all slaving away. Now, I know I said I was going to play the Halo Infinite at this point, but I am pushing that video back once again because thanks to the homie Skill Up on YouTube here, I discovered that the 3 classic Marathon games will be available on Steam and for free, with one of them even being out right now. I've been dying to play these. I actually did start the first one, but that was through an emulator on my PC where all the saved data is local. But now that they're on Steam, my data gets saved to the cloud, which means I can seamlessly play this on my PC and on my Legion Go, making my life much easier. So I'm chomping at the bit to jump into those, but at the time of writing, only Marathon 1 is available on Steam, with Marathon 2 and Marathon Infinity, aka 3, on their way. So I will be playing the first one for now, but once the other 2 games come out, I will be making those a top priority. Sorry about pushing back the Halo video again, but given how baller the trailer is for the new Marathon game, playing these classics have been a high want for me for a while. So the next video you see will be the Marathon 1, followed by Gears 2, and then assuming Marathon 2 doesn't come out, then finally will be Halo Infinite. But like I said, once Marathon 2 and Marathon Infinity become available, they will be a top priority. I just don't know when they are coming out. So subscribe so you don't miss any of those and any other gaming videos I put out or any of the classic Milkman food videos. And while you're at it, hit that post notification buttons so you know when to drop everything and pay attention to me. And as always, let's talk Gears of War in the comments, as I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about Judgment, the other games in the series, the comics, anything at all. And if you don't have anything to say about Gears, just bark like a dog for me in the comments. Row, row. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.